सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
You're listening to Bare Knuckle Bhakti Shorties on the Bhakti Recovery Podcast with Jiva G, coming at you every Monday with a little spiritual something. Hello, good morning. It's a beautiful morning here, and actually it's cooled down a little bit, which I'm very happy about. It's been really hot. It's been like 95, 96 degrees almost every day for the last, I don't know how many weeks. And this morning I got up and I'm in the woods and it's pretty early and it's nice and cool and I'm enjoying it. So today and this week I've just been really contemplating about again, here we go with boundaries, but it goes to each level now, and it's like I'm understanding this stuff really on a deeper level. And each time that I exercise my ACA program, it just seems that things are so much better. And I'm really starting to live the understanding of the expression, the most compassionate people are those with the strongest boundaries. They used to not make sense to me at all. I never understood that. I'd be like, what? Those are the people who are like, oh my God, I really used to get triggered by people who would constantly be like, no, that's not good for me, me. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about this selfish, I choose me because of the ego. It's a whole nother thing. So I always thought, being in a relationship, this is the funny thing. In my marriage, not this one, but the previous marriage, I always thought that heavy conflict and disagreement, and so the culture of fighting culture. I don't mean physical, I just mean, the culture of, having a fight with your partner. I always thought that was the biggest sign of love because they actually cared enough to be angry. And that's what I learned in my house. I guess. And it's really, in hindsight, when I think about what I thought was love, it's pretty astonishing. And, how is it? I want everybody to ask themselves, first of all, I want to say that most people who have healthy boundaries and were brought up that way and maybe have found them or is practicing that, this is like, no-brainer, of course. But people who are in ACA or people who have complex trauma or people who are just trying to work through their stuff, there's a long way to get to that thought even, let alone the decision. I made that decision a long time ago and knew intellectually that that's right to have these boundaries and even practice them at times, but it never felt okay for me. When I chose myself, I always felt guilty. And now I can decipher between choosing myself for selfish little I reasons, the ego I, and choosing myself for the right reasons. Not participating in unhealthy behavior, not being held captive by someone else, and moreover, not holding other people captive. When I first came to the program, I heard things like, we don't have relationships, we take prisoners. I get that. And that's just not the way a relationship should be. And I'm finding that out. If I'm in a relationship where I'm afraid to have a boundary, that's not a good sign. A relationship, and each person in that relationship should have the freedom to have boundaries without it having catastrophic effects on your relationship or without it being a huge fight. And the only way that we can do that, I can't change my partner, but I can definitely start making small decisions and choosing myself. Let's take the extreme case. I watched this with my daughter and her partner. They used together, they used drugs together, and they got clean together. However, when they got clean together, he decided to have a relapse. And the easiest thing for my daughter to do was to have that relapse with him. But she chose not to. She chose to distance herself and stay away because she knew exactly that joining him, and even, he didn't try to include her, but there are partners who will try to include you in their relapses or in their unhealthy behavior, to engage in that. And this is what I mean about the healthy I. I choose not to use. I choose not to engage in that kind of behavior. I choose not to have a fight with you about me being responsible for your comfort. I used to do this. I used to pull my partner into my bad behavior. Not on purpose. I wasn't thinking like scheming, I'm going to pull him into my bad behavior. It's not like we do that on purpose, but we do that. What will a drowning person do if you come out and try to save them? You're going down underwater because they want to hold on to you and they want you to save them. So figuratively, you have to be a damn strong swimmer, and your boundaries have to be really in place if you're going to enter a relationship, especially with people with a lot of issues. Quite frankly, I used to think that people with a lot of issues, they were the interesting people. The people who had healthy boundaries and were normal, they were boring. Yawn. But it's not that they're boring. Not at all. I have a partner now who, he's got really good boundaries. And when we first got together, this was like very difficult for me to understand. Those boundaries for me were, I viewed them as he didn't love me enough. He was selfish. He put himself always first. I'm not saying that that's what I thought, but when I was in that trauma response, hey, well, what's the matter? Aren't you gonna like my old partner? He would just, my ex-husband, he would just swoop in and control everything. And a part of me wanted that, and a part of me resented it. And I would take care of him emotionally. And please don't misunderstand me. In a partnership, it is beautiful that we can take care of ourselves and take care of one another. But those do have limits. And I am also learning those limits, and I'm also learning not to co-sign other people's bullshit. Excuse my language. Now you may ask, what does this have to do with Krishna consciousness? Everything. 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 For me, that's the safe space. Being in Krishna consciousness, being connected with God, doing my service, this is where I learn how to live life with this in the spirit of God. I haven't been able, I mean, the impersonalists like to emerge in that and be one with God. I don't see it that way. I don't think I'm capable of anything like that. I'm also not really very interested in it. Not in that way, at least. Of course, I want to be as close as possible. I'd like to be God-like. I'd like to exercise that part and partial that is like God. I'd like to exercise that. You know, and just as we enter our families, our relationships, we also do that, let's say, on the Sangha part or on our spiritual community part. And that's also really important, not to burn out on service because we're afraid to say no. Believe me, if you say no, things will still be done. If everybody had strong boundaries, things would be done, and they would probably be done way better than they're being done in a lot of spiritual communities. I don't know all spiritual communities, but the ones I've had connection and experience with, there's a lot of burned out people wanting to leave because they feel they've been used. Yet, they volunteered for it. Why? Because they don't have boundaries. When I say they, like I've explained this, I mean we as well. So in order to keep your safe space safe, we have to give what we can. And the rest, it's not your monkey, not your circus. I have to say this to myself. I would go to the temple and they would ask me to do one thing, and it would wind up being hours and hours of doing one thing after the other. And at the end, I'd go home and I'd be like, what the hell just happened? And then everybody glorifies it. Oh, that's service for Krishna. It's service for Krishna. No, it's not. It's service I mean, look, it could be. You could see it that way. And that's everybody's choice. But for me and my conditioning and in the lens that I have, it wasn't just service for Krishna. It was my incapability of saying no to service to people who don't know how to organize. That's just been my experience. And I'm saying if everybody would do their part in the healthiest way possible, man, things would move forward so great. And I'm working on myself. That's all I can do. I can't do anything else. I can't change the world with that. But I can start with my own backyard. Yeah, this ACA thing at the moment is very prevalent. And I'm working it with sponsees and working it on my own. I'd love to have a sponsor at the moment. I don't have one. And yeah, that's just the way it is. I talk to a lot of people in the program, and I have peers, and it's hard to find somebody who's has a lot more clean time than I do. And it's hard to find somebody, who has both Krishna consciousness and clean time and kind of understand all of that. Yeah, so that's just my situation at the moment. Yeah, I guess that's it. Not sure if I have anything else more to say. I'm going to enjoy this beautiful day. Walking down by the Izar, beautiful river. It's so beautiful. I'm going to enjoy this fresh, cool air, crisp morning, cool air with no bike riders and nobody here. How beautiful. All right, everyone. Happy Monday. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the Monday Shorties. Don't forget to check out our full-length episodes on Thursdays. If you like what you heard, Spread the word. Peace out.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.